Joining us on the broadcast to talk more about the COVID-19 outbreak and the city's response to it is Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist. Mayor, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you.
First off, it's been almost 2 weeks now since COVID-19 really changed the way many people live their lives here in our area. What's the latest in the effort to respond to the virus here locally?
Well, I think there's a couple things going on. First and foremost, we as a city are looking for ways to start to reopen. We're putting together a plan to ensure that we start to bring our workers back, that we can also continue with social distancing and really prevent any future spread. That also includes trying to look at how do we open the city back up to the public in a safe and socially responsible way. So my team has been working on that plan so that we're ready to go when the time comes to start to open the city back up in phased implements. I'll also say from the city's perspective, we've been working with businesses to try to help them put together their own plan to start to reopen, start to jumpstart the economy. And that's kind of our biggest focus right here, right now for the city.
Now, last week, many residents took to the streets to voice their displeasure with really how long it's taken to reopen, and they're calling on leaders to lift those businesses' restrictions. Seeing that protest on Friday and hearing those concerns, how do you balance freedom yet public safety amid this pandemic?
Well, there's definitely a balance, and as you know, there were no arrests. The protests were absolutely peaceful, and we always want to appreciate folks' right to protest, but at the same time, we also want to make sure that our community stays healthy and is also staying home. I get the intent to protest. It's sad to me. It saddens me that so many people came together in such a small space amidst this virus. But as you know, we allowed it peacefully. There were no issues. But I'll tell you, it is a hard balance, right? And right now, the biggest thing that on my mind is making sure that we don't lose any resident lives here in the city of Jamestown. That's why we take the things that, we actually take the actions that we do in order to protect our residents and our community. And it's shown in the numbers. It really has shown that our residents have genuinely stayed home and have stayed healthy.
Has anyone reached out to you to voice their concerns during this time?
We absolutely get a ton of phone calls and emails throughout the day and throughout the week on concerns for opening up. Most of the responses, though, are just people looking for help in terms of a plan to reopen or just to provide some positive words of encouragement during this time, which has really been a good thing for our office. I know our council members have also fielded calls along the way, so we've talked about those things. But for the most part, I think people are trying to do what's right in this time, which is just to stay home and recognize that we're almost over that curve and we're almost getting ready to be back to normal.
Now, last week, you held two live town halls on Facebook and then one via the telephone. What feedback have you got from those venues?
Well, we got some great feedback from our residents in terms of those looking to open back up, as well as just some general concerns that we were able to address. There were some simple things that we've heard from things like yard waste site reopening, being able to do that for our residents in a very limited way while also maintaining social distancing was a really important thing. And some of the feedback that we got, we were able to make that work in conjunction with the BPU. I know a lot of our residents are cleaning up their properties and they want a place for those things to go. Some of the other concerns was just making sure that we provide information to the public on how things are going to open up. And I know that we've tried to be very responsive. I've tried to be very responsive as mayor to the public when things are changing, when things are staying the same, or when there's some new opportunity for our residents. So we're going to continue that. We're going to continue making sure that everyone knows when things are opening up, how they're opening up, and my staff and I will be here to assist any business and really any opportunity once the time comes.
And in that to that point, there's still a lot of uncertainty out there
Right.
about whether some of these staple festivals, like say the Lucille Ball Comedy Fest, for example, will be held
Mhm.
this summer. I know that's a big economic driver. In regards to that economic impact that COVID-19 has placed so far, what does it look like? What's the forecast going forward?
Obviously having those festivals and having tourism here to the area is a large chunk of our budget and a large chunk of the city's operations. We're predicting, our comptroller's office is predicting anywhere from a $1 million to $4 million deficit, which has a huge impact, which will result in the cut of services in the city, at least for the rest of the year. We're currently just kind of waiting and seeing where this is going to go. We're trying to get a little better understanding of what sales tax and other revenues are going to look like as we head towards the end of May. But we've got to be prepared for it. We're doing the tough work of trying to figure out what services may need to be suspended for this year, which projects may need to be postponed. It's not pleasant, and this is going to be a very difficult year for municipalities if there is no federal aid given.
And I know you've called on federal lawmakers before to give aid, especially to local governments. They've done it for the people with stimulus checks, for businesses with loan programs. Has there been any talk that you've heard in regards to helping governments across the nation?
I've raised the flag every chance that I've gotten that the local municipalities, which are the ones hosting the police, the fire, the public safety, in some cases, the emergency response, those are the entities that are getting little to nothing from the federal government and are expending more than they ever have in order to respond to this crisis. I have been in contact with our congressional representatives, and I'll tell you that they've all been very supportive of federal funding. And now it's just a matter of them breaking through some of that gridlock in Washington and actually getting something done for the municipalities here. It's not just the city of Jamestown facing this crisis. It's a lot of different cities across Western New York. And if something isn't done, we're going to be facing a lot worse than we imagine.
Now, into that point, information and having accurate information has really proved to be vital for everybody during this pandemic. Where do you get your information from, and what's the process been like with communicating with the other local levels of government, county, state, and maybe even federal?
Sure. So there's a lot of different ways that I get my information. Many times I'm watching a governor's briefing just like everyone else may be during their day. But there is also a call for elected officials every day through the governor's office that helps provide us some additional information and clarification. There is also a call with the county executive that happens once a week, so we get a chance to interact with the other mayors and supervisors across Chautauqua County. We do have some calls with our federal elected officials as well, just to talk about some of the things going on with stimulus packages. And then personally, I'm in contact with a whole bunch of different mayors, including Mayor Rosas up in Dunkirk pretty frequently, in order to figure out what's going on, what are the best practices, and what should we be doing going forward just to ensure the health and safety of our residents.
And how big of a piece will that collaboration play into going forward, do you think?
It's absolutely crucial to have that collaboration. Right now, we don't want to be divided as a community. We need our local representatives, we need our county, we need the state, we need the federal government all to work together in order to move us forward in this pandemic. If that doesn't happen, if something breaks in the pipeline, then we've got a big problem where we're stuck holding the bag and we're stuck trying to figure it out for ourselves here in the city. I'd rather be collaborative. I'd rather work with other cities, work with the state, work with the federal government to come to a resolution, which is really just in the best interest of all of our residents here in the city.
And Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist on the show today. Finally, as we head into summer and health experts continue to monitor COVID-19, what do you think your role and subsequent message will be for those here in Jamestown?
Well, I'm very thankful for the health experts that we have here in the city and in the county. They do a wonderful job, getting us information we need. But as we get into the summer, some hard decisions are going to need to be made in regards to the use of our parks, in regards to the use of construction projects. As we go into the end of May, we'll need to start making decisions that are obviously going to impact residents. We're hoping that we have some more information as we get closer towards the end of the month to have a better understanding of where kind of our budget is going to lie. But we also want to make sure that we are doing whatever we can to prevent any further spread or even another spike of this virus during the summertime. We've got to be careful. We're not out of the woods yet. We still want people to stay home. But if we suddenly just open up the faucet, open up all of this area without any type of planning to prevent further spread, we're going to see another spike.
All right, Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist joining us on the broadcast today. Sir, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate having you here.
Anytime. My office is always here to help. Thanks so much.